I find it so interesting. It was actually March last year that I was here. I was here in May in the area, but I was here at the church in March. And I, for some reason, remember, I may be making it up, but I don't think so. I remember that the daily word affirmation that day was Charles Fillmore. And today, the affirmation in the Science of Mind magazine is the same exact affirmation as it was the last time I was here, which is one of my favorites. I fairly sizzle with joy and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. Very, very cool.
It's following you, that
It is following me. It follows me. One of my best friends is Reverend Delaware from Unity of Savannah, and he says it almost every day, so trust me, it follows me. And then I love the daily word from today. I just want to bring our awareness back to the part about I set aside regular time in the flow of my life to rest in the presence of the divine. We don't do that enough, and I am speaking, oh my goodness, from experience. We were off the grid for a couple of days when we first got here, and I mean that. We had no cell phone reception, no Wi-Fi. We were staying in a cabin out in southeast Ohio, and it was awesome. And I remembered that I needed to take more time to rest in the divine. Right? We think we have to figure everything out and know how to do everything and know how to make everyone else do the right thing. Anyone relate to that? When really our job is to show up and be loved. When I first became a minister in 2005, I think I was the first person, I'm pretty sure the first person at Center for Spiritual Living, and probably the last. I'm not sure they were a fan of this, but I think I was the first and only person to take a ministerial and practitioner at the same time. So you're supposed to take your practitioner studies and then go into your ministerial studies. And I did those at the same time while acting as a pastor of church. Talk about on-the-job training. It was something else. And I thought, wow, this is cool. This is great. I love to learn. I love to read. I love to study. This is a lot. But this is great. This is a lot. And then it hit me. I'm pastor of a church and I don't have a clue how to do that. Like, I'm in it. You ever had that experience where you get a job and you're like, yeah, this is great, check me out, I got this, and then you go, they made a mistake, right? They didn't. You were brought there by divine right. And so was I, even though all that was going on. And all of a sudden I had this wake-up call, though. I was a little bit terrified, and I called one of my teachers up, Reverend David Leonard out of Huntsville, Alabama, and I was just kind of a mess. And I said, I don't know what to do. He goes, about what? And I said, anything. He said, oh, baby girl, just show up and be loved. Show up and be loved. Called him back, fast forward, probably 6 months into being in that position, and I had a woman that I dearly loved sitting in front of me going through radiation and chemo and obviously showing signs of dis-ease in her body, right? And I'm supposed to sit in front of her and say, I know the spiritual truth of you is wholeness. I called him up. I'm like, I don't know how to do this. I'm scared. And he said, oh, baby girl, just show up and be loved. Show up and be loved. So today I'm talking about the heart of the matter. The heart of the matter is so much bigger than we realize. It's so much more than we give it credit for. There's actually a brain in here. And I love the Institute of Heart Math. If you're not familiar with it, I encourage you to look it up. And there's so much research that's been done, and I'm going to go into more of that this afternoon in the workshop and how to use that in your life. But I'll give you a couple of tangible examples from my own life of how the energy of our heart precedes us into a room. And then, because we live in a reflective universe, it comes right back to us too. So I was, again, in my early parts of ministry, and I walk into the church, and I noticed there is this little guy. We're going to call him, for the sake of the story today, we're going to call him Buster. So here's Buster, and he's sitting there, standing there with his mom as I walk in, and I thought to myself, oh boy. Because you see, Buster was the little guy that would make all the youth teachers quit. And I'd be up giving my talk, and I'd see cars pulling out, and I was like, oh, whoa, 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 that looks like a, oh, yeah, back to you. I'm sorry, I'm giving a talk. I know, but that was the youth teacher. And then all the kids would come piling back into the sanctuary, and I would be like, oh, boy. And so he was a lot of energy, right? This kid who's brilliant, too, as often is the case. So he was a kid that was very smart, very loving, very creative, and he would also come up at the end of service and kick the microphone over and hit me in the teeth with it. And you go, ah, you know, in the middle of a, love is my decision, right? So this was our experience of this little guy. And so immediately when I walked in, my outside said, good morning, church family. My inside went, oh, Buster. right? My inside, my heart. The electromagnetic field of our heart extends 5 feet. It actually has been measured a lot further than that, but for sure we're overlapping right now. We are overlapping. We're swimming in heart energy right here, right? And so when I walked in and I had that feeling towards Buster, Buster felt it. Turned around, immediately kicked me in the shin. Turned around, bam! Just I was like, you little cutie. Okay. So he goes off to junior church, and immediately I saw the law of mind action at work right there. I thought it had happened that quickly, right? Because kids, and especially really gifted kids that we often call problem children, they don't have the same filters that we do. They feel that energy even quicker, right? And so he felt it immediately. I was like, I think of you, right? Kick me in the shin. So I'm processing this, and I'm realizing that's an example of my energy going forward and touching this precious being in a way that wasn't loving. And I felt remorse for that. So I'm sitting in the service the whole entire time trying to carry on the service, and I'm thinking about little guy. And he comes in, and I was committed in that service that from then on, whether it was Buster or whomever, that I was going to be responsible for the energy. Not just the smile that we try to tell ourselves is the energy, because it's not. I was going to be responsible for the energy that I was feeding into the unified field that we're all swimming in. So he comes back in, and he comes up at the end of the service like they always did, and he stood beside me, and I don't think I even had to touch him because the energy could be felt, but I just reached over and I put my hand on his back. And he just looked up and smiled. And the next Sunday he came back with his mom, and his mom said, I've never seen this before. He's never done this for anyone but me, but I wanted to give you this. And he had drawn a picture. And in that picture, there was a little person and a big person with a heart on each person in the center of them, and lightning bolts going down to the little person.
Wow.
And he said, that's Miss Christie. Yeah, wow. But that's what we're doing all the time. We just don't always have such bold demonstrations of it, but it's happening all the time. People, I promise you, they're feeling your love. They're feeling your criticism. They're feeling your judgment. They're feeling you. We are feeling into this world. We're constantly given the opportunity to realize that our love can shift and heal and change the world for better, or we can be contributing to the chaos and the agitation and the judgment and the separation. And we can go back and remember that God is the love that I am. God is the love that I am, and I want to be responsible for projecting that into that unified field that we live in. So that was a huge lesson for me. I later learned about the Heart Math Institute out in California and the work that they've done to prove the intelligence of the heart, and how there are little cells in the heart that actually make up what they call the little brain of the heart. And they've actually registered the intuitive nature of the heart by this exercise that they did, where they showed a group of people random pictures. Okay, random pictures. 1 minute it was going to be something yucky like you'd see it on horror film, and the next minute it was going to be something beautiful, a beautiful landscape, a baby, whatever. So something that would make you go, ugh, and something that would make you go, ah. But randomly selected. What they found is that 4.8 seconds before the image was shown, the heart will respond and send a message to the brain to respond. And guess where it sends the message? It sends the message to the part of the brain that is the emotional center of the brain. So we are seeing something, feeling into something before it even happens, and responding to it before we even realize what we're doing, oftentimes. And if we're not conscious of reprogramming the old emotions and the old things that have been running the show for our lives, then we immediately go back to a 2-year-old, and we're stomping our foot or kicking someone in the shin or whatever the case may be. So we have the opportunity to reframe that for ourselves and take responsibility. I keep saying that because it's so important. We think we're not harming anybody. I'm not doing anything to anybody, being negative Nelly in my life. But we actually are not contributing to the positive stream, the positive flow that we could be if we were being conscious about it. It's a wonderful experiment that happened in the early 90s up in DC, where a bunch of people got together, several thousand people got together and meditated twice a day for 2 months. There was a 23% decrease in crime during that time in that area. Wow! Why? Because you, just like you pluck a string on that guitar and that one's going to quiver. It's going to start feeling that vibration. So people that aren't even aware that you're doing this work are going to be affected by you doing this work of bringing the heart and the brain in a coherent state of harmony and coming from a place of peace and love and joy. It's big work. It's powerful and important work, and we can each do it every single minute of our day. That's exciting. That's exciting to me. It's very exciting. Taking responsibility and knowing that even the people that don't realize they're being affected by it are being affected by it. You've probably noticed that when you have been in a really great space, when you've left here and then you met up with a friend that maybe doesn't go to Unity, bless their heart. And all of a sudden they went from being to being excited and happy and getting on your wavelength, so to speak. It is a wavelength. So taking responsibility for that and carrying it into the world creates that joy and that peace and that love that we want to live from, that place that is our responsibility. There are some things that can block our path, though, right? A big one is, yeah, but I am justified in this. They did wrong, and somebody needs to pay for it. They did wrong, and somebody needs to pay for it. Will get us every time. Why are they doing that? Why is this happening to me? That three-letter word can rob you of your joy and your peace and get you off track from your responsibility of making this world a world that works for everyone. Why? I encourage you to shift that and trade it in for what? The next time you want to say, why is this person doing that? Why is this happening to me? Why can't I get ahead? Why? Whatever, fill in the blank that's not positive. Try trading out your why for your what. What is this bringing me? What lesson is this giving me? What opportunity is this giving me to shift? What opportunity is this giving me to shine? What within me, what within me needs to change? What do I need to release? What do I need to embrace to be the joy that I want to see in the world? The reason I wrote that little chant, I wrote it for my community in Charlotte, because that's how they show up, is just love, 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 like here. And so I wrote it because of that, we have to be it to see it thing. And if we want that smile, that heart to open to us, then in our interactions, we get to be that. I had a woman come to me one time and say, Reverend Christy, I need for you to treat for me. That's our word for affirmative prayer in Science of Mind, is affirmative treatment, spiritual mind treatment. And she goes, Reverend Christy, I need you to treat for me for my man. I'm like, who's your man? She goes, that's the problem. I got to find him. I need you to treat for me to find my perfect mate. And I said, well, tell me about him. And she goes, well, he's 6'2". He's got brown hair. I'm like, whoa, wait. I mean, tell me about your relationship that you would like to have. Oh, well, I mean, we would go to the park, we'd go to the ballet, we'd do lots of cultural things together. We'd go to this, we'd get season tickets to the symphony. And I said, wonderful, that's great. When's the last time you went to the park? Oh, well, it's been years. I've been waiting for him. When's the last time you went to the symphony? When's the last time you went to the ballet? Well, I don't want to go by myself. I said, absolutely, go by yourself. Take yourself on a date, honey. So she started doing all the things, acting as if it were already so. She's now happily married, living in Florida, to a man about the size of her specifications, but more so her heart specifications. They match, they're equally yoked. Because why? Not because she put it on her vision board, although I love vision boards and I believe in them, but because it brings your awareness back to what you want. But more so than that, it was because she became what she wanted to see. All of the things on her list, she became that. So what if we looked at the world at large and said, oh, instead of saying, oh, those politicians, or those people in my family, or those neighbors, I'm building a fence between us and them. And instead of them and us and us and them, what if we looked at the world as, how can I be what I want to see in this world? And so when we move into a place of, the affirmations are powerful. We move into a place of affirming the life that we want, the life we want to experience and be into. We create it because beliefs attract our experience, and beliefs are just thoughts that we think on repeat. So thoughts thought a lot become beliefs, which attract experiences, and voila, here we are. Circumstances we're living in are the thoughts that we were thinking into. And so, as powerful as they are, this heart-brain coherence that I'm talking about this afternoon, it takes you to a place that's supercharged. It takes you to a place that's supercharged because you're placing those affirmations and those intentions into your heart space. So I'd like to do just a second of that right now, just to for anybody that, I of course want you to stay this afternoon, but I don't want you to leave today if you can't stay thinking, well, but what was it? I want to know. Let's experience it together. So we're going to do just a 3-minute, if that, just a couple of minutes of heart-brain harmony. All right, so close your eyes if you feel comfortable doing so. And the first thing we're going to do is shift our thinking awareness. We're going to shift our awareness from our brain to our heart. And you can do that by simply touching your heart space with a finger, placing an open palm on there, or as the Buddhist or Hindu tradition often does, with placing the namaste with your thumbs against your chest, whatever feels comfortable to you, to get into a space of just simply bringing your awareness to your heart space. Now as you're there, slow your breathing. Slow your breathing. Counting in, perhaps the count of 5. Exhaling slowly to that same count. See, as you bring your breath to a slower place, slower pace, you're telling your body you're safe. Because we only breathe slowly and deeply when we feel safe. So now you've brought your awareness to your heart, you've brought your awareness to the feeling of safety. Now we're going to add into this component, into this experience, the component of the feeling nature, of appreciation, of gratitude, love, kindness, compassion, some of those feelings. And you can think that about anyone or anything. Imagine you're four-legged. If you need help coming up with an unconditional feeling of love, maybe it's a loved one that's passed. Anything that you're grateful for, anyone that you appreciate, allow that feeling to flood your being. Breathe into that space. Breathing into that space. I am safe. Allow any affirmations to be supercharged in this space. I am in harmony with divine love. I'm at peace with all my relations. I'm grateful for my healthy body. I move freely in the material world as I live an affluent, abundant life. I have plenty to share, to give, and to experience life. Plenty of time and money and health and strength and vitality. I fairly sizzle with zest and zeal. Take one more deep breath. To flutter open and come back to me for just a few more minutes. Simple, yet powerful. Those few minutes just released over 1,300, a cascade of over 1,300 biochemical reactions that increase your immune system, increase your cardiovascular response, that provides you an anti-aging hormone flowing through. Let's have more of that. Yeah. Brings you more alive, sends a signal to your body, there's life here. Yes. But not only that, when we continually bring ourselves back to that place of heart-brain coherence, it's actually measured. They've scientifically measured that you can tell when someone's there, and that's all it takes, is what we just did. And once one person does that, it's felt, again, because of that overlapping energy of the electromagnetic field of the heart. It's overlapping. So you've just helped your neighbor, you've just helped that neighbor, we just sent some energy outside these walls, and it lasts for at least 6 hours. That little tiny exercise we just did lasts for at least 6 hours. So the people that you encounter after you leave here today, they're going to feel that. Isn't that awesome? They're going to feel that. We have a responsibility to continually shift ourselves out of the humdrum of way of thinking and back into life is amazing, because it is. It is. Our bodies are so incredible, the way that they can heal and regenerate, and the amazing amounts of stuff that can live in here. When someone says, "Isn't that your song?" I'm like, "Yes, it's coming back to me. Hang on one second. There's like a bunch of songs in here." But think about all the things that our bodies can do, our minds can do, and how we've only scratched the tiny little bit of the surface. And it's important because there are people that don't realize how they can shift their own lives yet, let alone how they can deal with what's on the television, how they can deal with what's in the world, what's in other countries or in our country that's scary, how they can deal with losing a loved one or having a health challenge. So when we continually bring ourselves back to that feeling of, I'm safe, I am one with the love of God, I am an expression of this divine love. It is moving out before me and creating a ripple effect in my world. Wow. It's not just empowering, it's exciting. And then it comes back to that place of responsibility. Being conscious that we are responsible for the life we're creating, for the life we are touching beside us. The heart of the matter is our job. Our heart space, our life, and then touching others, touching others, touching others. It's so awesome. We could do this. You could sit at home, and thank you if you're sitting at home and watching online, but you can sit at home and do this work. But when you come together in community, wow, we get even better together. Mark Nepo's new book, he has a quote in there about we're better together, talking about community, coming together in community. Because when we are together, we are amplifying that beautiful energy. We're amplifying that love, that truth, that wisdom that lifts each other up and lifts up the world around us. So when we leave from here and we run into someone who's having a challenge, we can be that space. We can be that space for ourselves and for another. And we can continue to make a world that works for everyone and leaves no one out. And that's something I can personally get behind. Can I get an old-fashioned amen? Amen. And so it is. Thank y'all so much. I appreciate it. Thank you.